Hello, I'm Michelle Cisneros and welcome back to Somewhere in Bookland. It is July already. July. And this whole year has just flown by super fast. This month there are so many readathons I want to be a part of that I feel a little bit overwhelmed, and I'm like, Michelle, you should just choose one. And then I'm like, no, you should do them all. So I'm going to try and do them all and probably horribly fail. But we'll see. I'm going to try and use books that count for multiple readathons. So that'll be interesting. Next month is the NEWTs Readathon, and I never did the OWLs Readathon. I wanted to do it, but then I just never did it. So this video is going up a little late, but this month on the 1st, I started doing the OWLs Readathon. That was created by Book Roast, and in her readathon, this is kind of like a redo of it since I missed the first one, but I want to participate in the NEWTs Readathon. There are 12 different categories, and you can't read one book and have it count for multiple categories. So for her readathon, I have 12 books, and then I do have some that are counting for the Bibliothon, which is coming up later, and then I'll probably put a separate TBR out for the Bibliothon. And I would like to do the BookTubeAthon this year, but we'll see. And then I really want to do the 24 and 48, but that's just reading a lot, as much as I can, in 24 hours and 48 hours. So the 24 and 48 is from July 21st to the 22nd. The BookTubeAthon starts on the 30th and ends on the 5th of August. So that one won't really overlap much with these readathons, but it'll overlap a little bit at the end, and then it'll overlap with the NEWTs Readathon. And then the Bibliothon starts on the 14th and goes into the 20th. So yes. I'm just gonna get started. Okay, for the OWLs Readathon, the first challenge is Ancient Runes, and it's to read a book with a symbol on the cover. And for that one, I chose The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. I chose this book because look, there's a symbol on the cover, but also because this is going to be the group book for the Bibliothon. So I'm going to read this book for the OWLs Ancient Runes challenge and the Bibliothon. So I just can't read any of the OWLs books that also go for the Bibliothon until the 14th, but this is one of them. So this is a book is about these three sisters that were accused of being witches and put to death by being drowned. And so now, every summer, they return for a little bit of time. They possess girls in the town's bodies, and they lead boys to their death by drowning. And it seems like it's going to be spooky and eerie, and I'm really excited to read this book. The next challenge is arithmancy, and that is to read a book with a number on the cover. And for that challenge, I chose 99 Days by Katie Katugna. And this book is about this girl, Julia, who lived in this town, and while she was there, something happened between her and these two brothers, Gabe and Patrick. And everybody in town blames her for it. And she moves back, and it's just kind of her dealing with everything that had happened prior. The town still blames her for it. And then it's just her basically reconciling with them, I think. I don't know exactly. The third challenge for the OWLs Readathon is astronomy, and that is to read a sci-fi book. And so the book I'm going to read is The Loneliest Girl in the Universe by Lauren James. This book is about this girl, Rami, whose parents are both astronauts, and she's with them in a spaceship. Something terrible happens, and both of her parents die, leaving her the only one alive on the spaceship. She tries to make the best of the situation, but she really doesn't have anybody to talk to. She's really lonely. She does talk to her therapist on Earth, off and on, very briefly, And then she is informed by NASA that another ship is going to be joining her soon. And she starts talking to that commander and becoming friends. But then she learns a secret about Jay's mission. And it says there are worse things than being alone. So I'm really curious as to what the secret is. Really curious to know what Jay's mission truly is. The fourth challenge is Care of Magical Creatures, and that is to read a book that has magical creatures in it or on the cover. And for that, I'm going to read Test of the Road by Rachel Hartman. The finished copy has a dragon on the cover, but also it has dragons in it, so this has magical creatures in it. I had started reading this book previously and I just never finished it, and I really do want to finish it because what I did read was interesting. This book is about Tess, whose parents plan to send her to a nunnery, but Tess is not having that. So she runs away from home, and on her journey she meets an old friend from the past who is a subspecies of dragon. I cannot pronounce the name of the subspecies of dragon. It's like Q-Quarterle. But Tess is guarding a secret. It's threatening to expose her. And from what I read, it was interesting. So yes, this is for challenge number 4. Challenge number 5 is Charms, and that is to read a fantasy book. So for this one, I'm not exactly sure what book I want to read. I do have 2 that I'm kind of debating between right now. So these are books I really want to read, and that is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, and The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. A Darker Shade of Magic is about this guy, Kel, and in this book there are multiple Londons, and each London has something different about it. There is Grey London, which has no magic. There is Red London, where magic is revered. There is White London, which is slowly being drained due to a magical war, and once upon a time there was Black London, but that no longer exists. Now, Kel can travel in between all the Londons, and he's kind of a messenger, but Kel ends up getting into some sticky business when he comes across a forbidden token from Black London, and he has to go on the run. And when he's on the run, he meets someone who wants him to take her to another world on an adventure, and this follows that, I assume. It seems really interesting, and I've been wanting to read this series, and I really want to read it for this month, but I also really want to read A Knife of Never Letting Go, so I'm hoping I can somehow get to them both this month, but I'm not sure how that's gonna happen. The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness is about a town where everybody can hear everybody else's thoughts, but Todd has a secret that nobody else can know, and so he runs for his life. But how do you escape when everybody can hear everything you're thinking? And I really want to read this book. I know there's a movie coming out about it soon, and I really want to read it before the movie comes out. It is rather chunky. It's 479 pages, and there's also like a short story at the end after that, so this one is rather chunky, so that might be a determination on which book I read, because this book is only about 400 pages and this one's about 470, so I might choose this one because it's a little smaller, and I do have a lot of books I want to get to this month. The next challenge is Defense Against the Dark Arts, and that is to choose a book featuring secret societies or clubs. And for this one, I don't have a book picked yet because I cannot think of one for the life of me. So that one's gonna go a little bit on hold. And who knows, maybe I'll read a different book and that's not on my TBR and it'll have secret societies or clubs and I can just fill it in with that, but we will have to see about that. The next challenge is Divination, and that is to read a book featuring prophecies, and for that one I will be reading A Shadow Bright and Burning by Jessica Cluess. And this book is about this girl, Henrietta, who is the first female sorcerer in ages, and they think she is the prophesized one that is going to defeat the bloodthirsty demons that are destroying everybody and everything. But the question comes into play, is she really the prophesized one, or are there secrets that people are keeping? It seems really interesting. I do have the other books in the series, so I really want to read this one. Yes. The next challenge is herbology, and that is to read a book with a nature-related word in the title, and for that I am reading Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Seanan McGuire, because sticks and bones are both nature-related. This is the second book in the Wayward Children series, and it follows Jack and Jill in their world that they went into. The Wayward Children series is kind of like a portal fantasy. Well, it is a portal fantasy, but the first one you don't really see a whole bunch of the worlds that the children have gone into, and in this one you do follow them into one of the worlds, and so I'm really excited to get to it. It's really thin, which is why I chose it, because I need some thin books to balance out the thicker books on my TBR this month. The 9th challenge is History of Magic, and that is to read an historical fiction book, and for that I'm going to be reading Alex and Eliza by Melissa Dela Cruz, and this is just a contemporary love story of Alexander Hamilton and Eliza Schuyler, and I love the musical Hamilton, which is why I had bought this book in the first place, and now I have the 2 books in the series, but I haven't read them, so this is the perfect time to get on it. 10th challenge is Muggle Studies, and that is to read a nonfiction book. For this challenge I'm going to be reading Wildflower by Drew Barrymore, and this is just a memoir of her life from the age of 14 basically on, and she just tells different stories of her life, and Drew Barrymore is one of my favorite actresses, so I'm very excited to read this book. I actually have it checked out, the ebook copy from the library, so I'm going to be reading it on my phone through Overdrive. The 11th challenge is Potions, and that is to read a book featuring alchemy. I couldn't really think of a book featuring alchemy, so tentatively it's going to be a reread of Harry Potter. I've been wanting to reread Harry Potter for a really long time, and I would reread Harry Potter in the illustrated edition. I've also been wanting to buy the edition that make a castle, the paperback editions, and I want to read them and annotate them because I want to read and annotate Harry Potter, but I do not want to write in my illustrated editions, and I don't want to write in my childhood editions since a lot of them are first editions, first off, and they're pretty tore up because I read them a lot growing up, but I haven't reread them in a long time, and like I said, I've been wanting to reread them, so I think I'm going to be sticking with Harry Potter, but I'm not positive. The 12th and final challenge is Transfiguration. That is to read a book featuring transfiguration or shapeshifting, or that has a cat on the cover, and I honestly can't think of a book right now besides Harry Potter that features transfiguration or shapeshifting, except for like Twilight or the Sookie Stackhouse books, which I mean I have. My girlfriend's been reading those for the first time, and I've read them before, so I have all the audiobooks of those, so I could listen to the audiobook of the first Sookie Stackhouse book. So that's like a tentative, I guess, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that one. I'm not sure. Anyways, that is going to be my TBR for the Magical Readathon OWLs edition. And if you like this video, click the like button. If you want to see more of this face in your feed, click subscribe, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye!